welcome back to Expedition 33, where, as you can see, the glam has had some upgrades. Chris has a box of things. He was so excited about Expedition 33. He has a whole box of things that he is like, I'm going to just make your life hell. We were in a mini-war with Annie Fuchsia, another streamer, and she's bowed out at this point. She is bowed out of the challenge. But, more importantly, yet more questions than answers, man. More questions than answers. But in joyous news, we have reached level 99 in agility on all characters. I did promise in yesterday's TDP I would mention something to you. I noticed a long time ago that putting more points into Agi was not benefiting me at all. In any way. I wasn't gaining a ton of extra turns. Like, very rarely I would get one. But ultimately, it's like stopped being effective a long time ago. But, I mean, it's scaling my weapons, so there's that. It's been funny over the last few days how many people have been annoyed by the Agi build. They're like, dude, why? It's just why? And I'm like, because I like speed. I am speed. Although it's clearly not benefited me outside of, like, quick attack on Verso. That's it. That's the only thing. And now I've discovered ascending attack. What a play. Let's carry on. I want to finish up with the story of the Frost boss. I actually genuinely was angry all night about not killing the Frost thing. So I was like, I know it's doable, but I need to see this last percentage at least a couple of times to figure out the timings of those attacks. And I was replaying it over and over in my head because the attack that mainly killed me is one I've dealt with throughout the fight, but he does it like 8 times and the camera pulls out, which makes it weird, and it doesn't have the same sound cue on the first one. To get it right. A heart rate monitor was introduced at this point to track what's going on, which is fair. It's fair. We use it on occasion when the situation calls for it, because I do get genuinely excited. I think it helps the audience to see, like, as well as, like, the intensity is rising with me physically. My resting heart rate is like 65. Something like that, and very regularly on boss fights. This is why I love gaming, man. My heart rate will go to like 110, 117 if it's like a really intense boss fight, because I'm genuinely just having a good time, and very few things elicit that kind of reaction, and gaming still does, even for me now. I loaded in and I'm stood in front of the boss, and my regular audience, who has been with me through Alatreon and other things like this many times at this point, were like, come on, man, you know you want to do it, you know, one more, just go on, uno mas. And I was like, I have been thinking all night about different types of builds and things and some optimizations I can do, and the traveling audience, who are the people who are like, oh, cool, who's playing Expedition 33 and who's doing a decent stream of it? Those guys are like, what the hell is going on here? Why would you bother with this? And it's like, because that reaction, I love it. This is the point I think I could do it. And I was like, okay, I set an alarm. I actually set an alarm. I was like, I'm going to give this 1 hour. That's it. I set an alarm to try this. And immediately saw a bunch of people like, I'll be back in an hour. Because he's not killing this. Well, it's dead. So, what? And I actually one-banged it when we got to the final phase again, which did take over an hour, I will admit. It took over an hour to get there and cost me 20 subs in punishment to my own stream. It cost me money. But I was like, we're really close, man. I just wanted to get... I made it very clear. I was genuinely about to give up on it, because in that hour, we did not get one single run that got to the end of the fight. Not one. Was dying at like... I think the lowest we had it was like 70%. Unfathomable how little damage we were doing to this boss. And I had to get back into the rhythm of the timings, because there's so many. I actually made a concession here. There was an attack that was really bothering me, and I could not figure out what it was. And I do now know what it is when he holds up the orb and lightnings you. The middle one has a slightly different timing later in the fight. So for the first like 30%, it's very rhythmic, and then when it gets to like below 30, he changes his attacks somewhat. He can add extra things in, and on that one, it occurs ever so slightly later. First, he does 3. First and third are in the pattern. The second one is slightly later, and it kept killing me. So I actually resorted to dodging, just to make that consistent and play for safety, essentially. That was my thoughts, is I'm just going to play for safety at this point. And so I rejigged the characters to work around the fact that we're dodging a bit more. We're going to have less AP, because you get so much AP from parrying. and did my best. But I also discovered Ascending Assault on Verso, which is the same as the Raging Fire, is it keeps ramping up in damage. So I can get Verso doing 10k every hit, and I can get Lune doing 10k every hit. And I think it has like 700k HP. So once you ramped up, including passive damage from elsewhere and CL buffing them, is it will consistently start dropping them down. One of the great additions I had with CL was she has an ability to give a bunch of AP and give somebody an extra turn. Putting that onto Verso gave us that extra... Lune doesn't need the AP because she's just channeling the spell. She loses control of the character, but she just does 10k, 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 10k. But Verso can get another attack in with another 10k. So we started chunking the HP down. Slowly, sure, but like way faster than normal. Like doing reasonably good damage. I think the total length of the fight came in at 23 minutes. Something like that. But once we hit that last phase, I like could feel my blood and the adrenaline pumping. I was like, I need to chill. Because I have to do a lot of dodging now. A lot of dodging. And any mistake is going to screw me here. Because there's no way, even with the secondary party of my L, am I going to be able to bring this down. But off we went. And yeah, I killed it. Like, that last 10% was brutal. Absolutely brutal. It was horrible. I think I lost Lune. Lune got killed, and that means she had to re-ramp. No, Verso died a couple of times, so we lost a lot of ramp damage. But brought it back in. What a feeling. Like, absolutely extraordinary. Here's my reaction to it.
That's better.
Yes! God damn! Woo! Oh! Oh, Jesus! God damn it, man. Oh. From there, it was story time. We were going to go see Monokco. Monokco, who I imagine for many of you is an extraordinarily good character. I love this character. Super fun. Immediately put him into the party. Plays as a blue mage is the easiest way of describing him. Very classic FF style character who learns his abilities. I'm devastated that this guy is a feet sniffer because there's a meme in my community about feet and they love it. And then this guy just says things like, "Oh, you got lovely feet." It occurs to me now we have not fixed our Pictos.
If not here, that means... slow as ever. Mon vieux.
Your reflexes remain sharp as ever. I approve. Esquire, did Verso pull you into another adventure? New friends.
You speak our language.
He had a lot of time to kill, so I taught him.
Ladies, could I, interest you in a duel?
Definitely a gestural.
No point trying to talk until we've calmed Monokco down with a relaxing fight. Be careful though. Monokco's fighting style is a bit, peculiar.
I'm gonna get my ass kicked by this fucking monkey. Oh, what a tune!
Ready to evade. What are you doing?
I just need the foot. Aha!
Foot enjoyer. Classic. Oh, he's a blue mage.
He transforms by collecting Nevron feet. Don't ask me how
Oh
it
my
works.
god, there's actually a
Never
foot
understood.
sniffing based character. Oh, Jesus Christ. And I was like, of course there's a feet sniffing character. Of course there is. And how happy my older audience was that this was happening. But what a great character overall and really fun. A lot of versatile choices to be made and a good reason to go back and start doing some of the older content. Loved his introduction. A couple of boss fights that came along with it, which were like nicely done. But absolutely adored this. Adored this character. Super fun. And he is part of my main party. My main party currently is Monokco, Verso, and Lune. And I've racked up at this point, I think, 60 Luminas to put on characters. I'm basically investing them all into Lune. She's like my definitely not replaced character. Everybody else is somewhat interchangeable at the moment. I really like Lune, mainly for her actual character in the game. She like responds very pragmatically like I would to a lot of occasions. She says the things that I'm thinking. Like, really enjoy that. So Monokco, great addition. And then I was on my way to start investigating other things. I wanted to start clearing the map of various things. Bumped into a lot of really fun stuff. Did the... I think he's... I forget the name, but I think he's called, like, Gross Tits, something like that. The parry boss, figured that out, killed that. Killed a number of other bosses. There was a boss that required just gunshots. It was a floating boss that was out in the open world. Respect everybody to just have mega gunshots. Brought that down really effectively. Nothing... I fought some really interesting things that were not on the par of the Frost guy, but I've got more to do. I've got a big water boss to do, and now I want to go back and kill a lot of the early game stuff, because there's a lot of spells for me to learn with Monokco. But I also wanted to keep going with the MSQ, to get the world map opened up, because I was still, like, lacking the ability to get the world map open to actually get back to those areas. So, then we got to, like, probably the next big important point you guys have been waiting for, which is the mansion, the Renoir mansion. Now, at this point, they did something very classic FF, which, again, going back to what I said about the very swift introduction of Verso, shows that they're totally okay with doing this stuff, and they probably could have done it there as well, is they separated the parties in Old Lumiere. Because there's a discovery about Verso, which is going to be revealed. So we ended up with forced party compositions. I really liked this. I think this is probably one of the highlights of the game in terms of gameplay telling story, which I'm a big fan of, is where the gameplay itself is actually telling the story. Like Brothers: A Tales of Two Sons is the prime example of that. Play that if you haven't. Don't spoil it in the comments as to why I said what I said, but go and play that game. It wasn't my perfect party, but it's a good way of forcing you to play with other characters and think about how they work together. Actually, really fun that they decided you can't share Pictos and Luminas between the characters because they're separated. Like, they're physically sharing them. That was nice. It was such a good touch. I really enjoyed that. So we end up with Mael and Verso, and Ciel, Monokco, and Lune on one team. Cleared through that part, and then the more interesting part is actually Verso and Mael, where Verso disappears. So the end of the part with the girls, Monokco and Lune and Ciel reveals a journal where there's a discovery about Verso. Because it's Expedition 58, I think it is, that made it as really, really far, and they're all dead there, and then it reveals something about Verso, and then it blue balls you as to what it is. Then we cut over to Verso and Mael working through, and then we get a really cool moment where Verso disappears for some reason. Not sure why. Even when he comes back later, I'm like, I'm not sure why he disappeared here. It's a little contrived. I would have liked a reason for that to happen, but the point still worked very, very well of Mael now being on her own. Almost as if Verso wanted her to die. That's the impression. That is what I could take away with it, is Verso leaves because he's kind of hoping she dies, because it's just them two, so he can get away with her death without the others knowing what's going on. But you end up with this single player of Mael, which was great. Like, very challenging fights, but they cleverly gave you essentially stealth Assassin's Creed routes around all the enemies, so you didn't have to deal with them. If you were struggling or low on resources, or you'd never spec'd Mael, whatever it might have been, you were able to just avoid all combat. I thought this was great. And then we get to the mansion. Okay. The big revelation about Verso is that Verso is Renoir's son. Okay. There's a very good point here, and again plays to the maturity of the dialogue and the writing of Expedition 33, in that, and it came from Lune as well. She's my goat. Marry me. And she's like, a lie by omission is still a lie. And he's like, it's not relevant. It's like, it's relevant. Let me make that decision. It's relevant to me. Do you know what I mean? He's been keeping the secret that he's the son. He's like, I don't consider him my father anymore. We've lived for, I've lived for 100 years, and I haven't been connected to him for decades at this point. But that's the revelation, and that the white-haired woman is his sister. Alicia is his sister, the burned girl. I've had a theory for a while now that Alicia is in some way Mael, like from a different world or something like that, because they are extraordinarily physically similar, despite, obviously, there's burns and things going on. But probably not. Probably not. They're just physically very similar. But it's in my head a little bit. This is a very interesting whole scenario that plays out here, because it's the boss fight with Renoir, but that's not really the point of the fight. I will say the Renoir's fight is a big step up in difficulty. Such a wide array of attacks that he has. A lot of misleading baits and things to trip you up, which on your first pull probably will heavily, unless you're very, very like tanky and you can just tank all this stuff, especially because he can delete people, literally just delete them from the game. I enjoyed this very much. It took me, I don't know, like 4 tries to kill this thing, maybe 5. Did huge damage to him. It was actually just surviving his attacks. Obviously, I'm very parry focused. I have no HP. And so it became a case of like trying to learn these very complex attacks that have more ramping difficulty as the fight goes on as well. Yeah, tough. Now, the payoff to this is nothing, really. We have a very interesting cutscene where Mael like pauses time essentially, and goes and stands with with Alicia, where Alicia is walking into her memory of the burning building essentially, and trying to communicate, but her throat's been burned, so she can't speak. And trying to discover more what's going on as she then like pulls, because we actually see this earlier, is that Renoir knocks Verso into this other world, and then Mael manages to pull herself into that world as well. There's some connection there. This is why I think Alicia might be like the original incarnation or alternate reality version of Mael in some way. Very cool. But the revelation is that Verso is the son, and Renoir, you can't kill him because he's immortal. We actually have a hilarious cutscene later where Verso and Monokco cuts Verso in half, and his legs can talk, and his upper body's separate. So he's immortal. This raises a lot of questions.
Hi.
Oh, Verso, there you are. How did... Oh, fuck. Oh my... wow.
What is that?
Hi. I'm a pair of legs that can talk.
Verso?
We're both Verso.
You are so ridiculous.
Back in the days, that's what we used to do.
Can I... Are you...
Yeah, my hair is...
All that pain just to put a smile on their faces. Verso, aren't you getting too attached?
This is really interesting. So, jokes aside, he's literally immortal, and so is Renoir. How did that happen? What happened to them to put them in that condition compared to the rest of us being here? I assumed he was frozen in age, but could still die, as per the combat system. But he's actually immortal. He's immortal. How did that happen? Because that's not what's happened to the rest of them. Like, until that point, they get called immortals, but we read immortal as being unaging. Like, we're not naturally dying anymore. They're actually immortal. They cannot die. Which explains why he kept coming back from all these failed expeditions. How did that happen? Why has that now happened to us? What did they do differently? Was it something to do with, like, initially coming to the continent? I don't know. But there's a lot of throwaway lines here which are well worth mentioning, such as they did come from Lumiere, or New Lumiere, on various expeditions to try and figure out what was going on there. They didn't even know about the Paintress, but he was ultimately, like, betrayed. Like, the people cast him out. That's why he stayed there, is that the people rejected him in Old Lumiere. What did he do? Like, there's a lot more going on here with this family than is being let on. I almost feel like they were rulers at some point, and and we get an interesting journal where it seems to indicate some of the people who go on the expeditions are actually forced to because they're criminals, but more importantly, they don't follow the company line. They're not keeping the status quo. They're speaking out against the way the Gamage is being handled and how people are reacting to it, and they're then sent away, exiled to death, essentially. There must be some rule of law in New Lumiere, but yeah, there's a lot more going on here that paints a more dystopian situation happening there. It was very cool. I would like to insert a cutscene here. I'm sure Bex is waiting for the moment, but there isn't really one that I think is like, watch this to get context for it. Everything is happening here. So again, more questions than answers. How did they become immortal? What was going on behind the scenes at the point of fracture? Because we're now finding some journals from survivors of the fracture about what it was like there. and separated away from, you know, the people who, when the fracture happened and the monolith appeared on that continent, it's like there were people still there. They survived. And they had to deal with the fallout of Nevrons appearing and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot more happening here behind the scenes that's done in very throwaway lines. Interesting stuff, man. Very, very interesting stuff. And I know there's going to be a big payoff, and this is all going to connect in some way. I still can't see the ending, but it's raising more questions than anything else, which is great. That's so fun. Following that, we have the ability to break coral with SK. This was wonderful, because now the world map is reopened, and that's when I went on an expedition to just go and start finding things, collecting feat and spells for Monokco, essentially. Bumped into a lot of cool stuff, a lot of side zones. I did a really interesting maze in one of them, more cutscene areas, more access to the painted world to unlock some sort of boss. I've done 2 out of 3 of these painting worlds. We've got to find the access points to do those. Then there was an interesting point that I think we should talk about, because people are so mad about this. But I have an argument. I was just checking out new zones. I was finding all sorts of cool stuff, and one of the ones I went into had these giant ghost-like wraith-type characters. I thought they were bosses at first, that once again had ludicrous amounts of HP, and I was learning their attacks to see whether or not it was worthwhile investing our time into killing these, until I noticed there was more of them around the area, and these were just trash mobs. And that raised a number of questions in my mind, such as how high does the damage scaling go in this game? Because these are clearly trash mobs. And so then it made sense, is this loot all over it, is to run around and collect all the loot. Now here's the point of controversy. However, I will defend it on the people who did it, because people are really mad about this. I looted up the whole place and then was on my way out, and people were like, oh, I didn't see it, you didn't see it. So I was like, oh, did we miss something? Now, it's not at all uncommon if there's like loot that has been on my screen and I haven't noticed it, or I ran past it, or I forgot to pick it up, is that people go, you missed the item. That's very normal in every other part of the game. So I went back in and managed to get it. I ran through it. It was very tricky to get, but I did manage to get it. And it was a Picto. And then all hell broke loose. Why? This is an end game Picto. But here's the thing. And I think it's totally fair, is the game gives you this access now. And then these weird, like, I get the point of view. I'm not an idiot, but the game is giving you this stuff now. So not using it is stupid, because it's the game that's giving you. If they didn't want you to have it, they wouldn't give you access to it now. Like, it would be on the boss drop, right? You would have to kill the enemy to get it. They don't. They leave it lying around on the floor in a zone that you can access. That's fair game, dude. That's totally fair game. That is absolutely fair game. And then people are mad at the people who suggest it. However, every other time they would absolutely suggest, oh, you can't find it, blind, whatever. It's a very normal thing. So that's not strange either. Yeah, I'm totally going to use it, because why the hell wouldn't I? Like, these self-imposed rules, I will play with the tools given to me. I like a challenge, but I will absolutely play with the tools the game is giving me. Like, that's nonsense. This isn't a challenge run where it's like, okay, can I, you know, I'm not making that YouTube video that you'll see everywhere. It's like, can I beat Dark Souls using only a spoon? Well, yeah, if you give it enough time. Duh. I get it. It's a fun and interesting video and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, of course you can. Can I beat X without using guns? Yeah, probably. It's a video game. Yeah, of course you can. I don't find those things mega impressive, because having done this for so long, it's like, well, yeah, you can do most things in a video game. You just throw time at it. Yeah, you totally can. So I'm not bothered by this in any way. I haven't played with it yet. It was the very end of the stream. But if the game is giving you this stuff now, it's fair game, dude. It's fair game. If it's not locked behind a drop, if I had to kill the enemies and get it, and I wouldn't have done it, that's fair. But like leaving it lying on the floor in a room that you can walk into, no problem, and it's just on the world map, yep, that's fine. That's totally fine for me. But my next plan is to go and finish up Act 1 now I can get back there. I missed tons of stuff when we transitioned to Act 2. There's world bosses, the Welsh thing. I can now access more areas, so I'm going to go and do that. And then push on with wherever we're going in the MSQ to find out what the hell is happening with this page world. But I'd love to see your thoughts, because I imagine some of you are going to be the mindset of like, it's too strong, don't use it. And I imagine the other side of the coin is like, you're right, yeah, it's just, if you get the drop or you get the thing, then use it, unless it spoils the game, which I will hold back. If I use this thing, because it has a ton of defense, if I use this thing and it's just spoiling the rest of the game, sure, I'll unequip it. But I haven't even tried it yet, so I don't know. We'll see. But that's where we're up to. Story-wise, I have no idea. Oh, people asked me if I could put a tier list in of characters on each of the TDPs. That's fair. So, where is it up to right now? All right, number 1 is Lune. I love everything about that character. It's not because of the feat, just everything she says, and I like her gameplay as well. Lune. Number 2 would probably be... Mael. I really like Mael. I think she's cool, and I think she's got intrinsic to the story. Number 3 would probably be Monokco now. It's very close between Verso and Monokco. No, it's not. Verso is bottom. Monokco, CL are about even Stevens. Then is... of the playable characters, Verso is last, purely because he is... I don't like characters that are with us and supposed to be helping us and be part of the team, and are intentionally holding back on information that is definitely relevant. I don't like that. Urian J syndrome. I don't like this deception amongst friends and things for the greater good or whatever. We'll see. But yeah, but Verso would be bottom. Gameplay-wise, he's very, very high up, but in terms of a character, down the bottom. That's where I'm currently at with those. So, there. Alright, because I know some people hate Lune. I'm not sure why. Like, Lune makes total sense to me. I love Lune. Alright, thank you guys. Bye-bye.